and we'll talk about identity as a security perimeter a little bit more in the security slide. That comes from something called Zero Trust, which is a Microsoft kind of philosophy, something that you'll read and hear a lot about over the next year or so. It's the sort of one of the big messages they're pushing this year. And really, what does that mean? Like a lot of people on the call, I'm sure you've been working at home. I'm working at home today. Been working at home quite a lot over the last 2 years. A lot of staff are expected to work in all sorts of places, all sorts of times, sometimes working off their own devices rather than using corporate. And the traditional approach of perimeter security isn't really fit for purpose anymore. You don't need to be inside the corporate network to be able to access corporate information. So using identity as a security perimeter basically means if I can prove who I say I am, I should be able to get access to the resources that I need within my corporate network. So with that in mind, I would guess most of us on this call will be using Active Directory in some form as our identity platform. So whether that's on-prem or in the cloud, Office, through Office 365, we can start thinking about using Azure AD as our single source of truth. So bringing all of those identities into one place. So bringing in on-prem through things like AD Connect. If we've got guests and partners, using Active Directory B2B. And if we've got end users that are customers, people joining using sort of Gmail, Facebook, connectivity that way, Active Directory B2C is something that we can again start bringing all of those accounts, all of those identities, all under the single source of truth that's Azure AD. Once we've got those in place, we can start layering on additional services and experiences for those customers. So single sign-on, conditional access, MFA. All things that we need to think about as part of our design for our landing zone. Next thing I wanted to touch on next for identity really was RBAC, role-based access control. Really, this is where you want to be looking at least privilege and employing that principle across the board. So what permissions do I need at the absolute minimum to be able to do my job, those permissions and how they affect the Azure environment. So there's 3-step process really to RBAC. The first is the security principle. That's really just an object that represents either a user, group of users. A service principle, commonly sort of service account if you're using stuff on-prem, and then a managed identity. So that's the who. The second part is role definition. So a role really is, what permissions do I have? Can I read? Can I write? Can I delete? Can I make changes? Roles can be high level, like an owner, so an owner of a subscription has access to everything within that subscription, or they can be really sort of specific. There's roles like website contributor or virtual machine operator that are built into Azure. And the last part of RBAC really is the scope. So the scope is the boundary, or what do I have access to? So whether that's going to be a management group, whether that's going to be a subscription, a resource group, or even an individual resource, setting those permissions in a way that you only really have access to what you need to do the job that you have. And then lastly, just a quick word on Key Vault. Key Vault is commonly used for holding keys for encryption of data, but additionally it's also used to securely store certificates, secrets and passwords. And those can be used by applications, removing the need for including that kind of information for code into the app. Again, it's a secure way of leveraging native Azure tools to assist with identity.